Hi, everybody. Welcome. I have another live stream for you today. Today, I wanted to talk about the client onboarding process that I have. And I think it's a good topic. Everybody's process is a little bit different. But I think that the process tends to be overcomplicated. And I think the simpler, the better, the faster that you can get a client onboarded, up and going, or onboarded, up and going, and off to the races, the better both parties are, both yourself and your client. So I just wanted to kind of quickly walk through my client onboarding process. It's very simple, but there are some important steps in there. So the first thing that I do is I have a little bit of a screening process. Most clients don't just schedule something on my calendar right away or schedule a time to chat. But usually there's either an application process or some questions that I go through just to get a feel for the client. And hi, Laura. Get a feel for the potential client, what they are looking for, and if I'm a good fit for them, if I see any potential red flags. If I talk with anyone and they're very like strict about what they will and will not do, if those things don't align with some of my processes or tools, I'm probably not a good fit. Doesn't mean that we don't. It doesn't mean that we couldn't work together, but I've found that as a general rule of thumb, if they're not flexible, it's really hard for me to do my job to make them more efficient and get the things done. Now, this is just how it is for my business, because I know everyone in the group is a little bit different and does different things, but I think it's important to have some general screening questions or a general screening process, and maybe that would be another live stream. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments, or leave a comment on the group if you're watching the replay. So after I kind of have a little bit of a screening process with them, not going into great detail, this doesn't need to be a novel of messages back and forth, but just a little bit of information. And I say, okay, I think this is a potential good fit. Then the potential client and I have a chat. If we both agree that we're on the same page with things, I will put together a quote, and should that quote be agreed upon either on the phone or after the quote is sent, usually I send a quote after I get off the call so I can put some thought into what it is that I want to propose. But sometimes there's a quick one-off project and I can quote it on the spot. But once that quote has been accepted, and I have a tool that puts out quotes, and then the client has to actually digitally or electronically accept the quote. And once that's been, that quote's been accepted, they will then sign a work agreement, which is not a contract. It's just an understanding of our roles in the relationship, in the working relationship, that I'm not an employee, that I have a team, that kind of thing, confidentiality. Then I will also send out an invoice and make sure that they get that invoice paid. Once the signed work agreement and the invoice is paid, we can then kind of make that next hurdle. I will set up their project space or their online office space where we can collaborate. I will obtain any necessary logins to any tools that they use, any cloud-based programs, make sure that we get access and logins to all of that kind of stuff that we would need, that would be required. And then once I have all that information, I get everything over to my team and get that delegated and organized and get everything up and going. Most of the stuff that goes on after the chat and really the quotes, work agreement, invoice, the client is really not involved in that too much unless we have a question about how to go about like a recurring task or project that we're doing for them. But once that kind of goes into place, it's pretty much hands off, and the responsibility lies with me and my team. So I have had clients come to me and say, like, well, what's your onboarding process? Do you have this kickoff call? Do you do this? Do you do that? And I know everybody does things a little bit differently, but I feel like in my experience in doing this now for roughly 10 years, weird, that that elaborate of a thing is not always necessary, and in many cases it's not. Sometimes there's a need for a call if there's some burning questions regarding like a more extensive project and setting some of those expectations. But in general, that's the process that I go through, and then I have more of a touch base with them ongoing, or go back and forth with them on the discussion area of the office space. So I hope that kind of helps. I'm curious if you have a different process. I would love for you to share what that is. Leave a comment. You know, this is a group to help each other. So just because that's my process doesn't mean that works for everybody. But I did want to share it. And if you have any tips or suggestions for the group, please leave them in the comments. Also, one last thing I want to mention, on Tuesday, January 21st at 12 p.m., I will be 12 p.m. Central. I will be hosting a free webinar training on a blueprint for success and the necessary steps required to have a success mindset for 2020. So there is a link in the description to the side of the video. So if you are available on that date, sign up. If you aren't available on that date, sign up and you will get the replay. I will be doing a bonus video training just for the people that sign up for the webinar. So I really encourage you to do that. Link is there. And unless there are any questions, I am going to head out for the day. Okay. Sounds good. Well, have a wonderful day. If you're watching the replay, see you later, Laura, and we'll all talk soon. Bye now.